Kevin Revere is here from the Oneida County 911 system. Kevin, welcome.
Good morning. How are you?
Listen, the voice still coming across in the headphones.
The sonorous tones of Kevin Revere. And you were saying that you were listening to our little chat comparing the Chadwick's church situation with the Scientology special that I had seen over the weekend. You saw it, huh?
I saw it about 2 months ago. Mm-hmm. Really, just an amazing story. Scary story, really. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I will never, ever pay to see a Tom Cruise movie ever again.
Yeah, he seems imbalanced at best if you look at some of the clips in this particular film. As for 911 and how it applies to the Church of Chadwick's, I know you can't probably give details, but have there been 911 calls regarding this church?
I don't know, and if I did know, I couldn't tell you anyways, but that's another sad story there.
Yeah, for sure, and there are some similarities between the cult-like activities of the Church of Scientology and what's being described as a cult in Chadwick's at the Word of Life Church. More being written on that topic as we roll along.
Some other calls that you may be able to comment on that Dave had in the sports news.
This is interesting. Did you hear this? I know you're a football fan. Did your Chiefs were off this weekend, weren't they, or did they play?
They've been off all year.
Did they get beaten this weekend?
Wait, can we just drop that? Let's talk about the Kansas City Royals.
That's true.
Please.
Yes. Good season for you in baseball. And interesting 911 calls coming in to the Oxford, Mississippi 911 call center over the weekend. Ole Miss's football team lost in overtime to Arkansas 53-52, and Arkansas's quarterback Brandon Allen had 6 touchdown passes in that game. And some of the fans on the opposing side from Ole Miss were so upset at him that they called 911 and asked 911 to come remove the Arkansas quarterback from the stadium.
Really?
The Ole Miss 911 folks actually had to get out an official tweet saying asking us to kick the Arkansas quarterback out of the stadium is not a legit reason to dial 911.
Probably not. Could land somebody in jail actually for abusing the system.
You probably get these abuse. What percentage of calls are listed would be considered abusive that come into your phone lines?
More than you would think. We get odd questions about, on a holiday. There's a holiday this week. Is garbage going to be picked up? I mean, but the one thing the public does know, if nobody else answers, 911 will answer.
Right.
So we get some very strange phone calls. And you get the people who are intoxicated, obviously, and they're talking about crazy stuff, too. So,
folks, you can use 211 for that now.
We have been trying to push that as much as possible. It's a handy tool for the public to use to get answers to questions. So
that are non-emergency related.
Only call in an emergency. Please only call in an emergency.
Well, I heard a story over the weekend of this gentleman calling 911 because he lost his Apple cell phone. Not a legitimate reason to call 911?
No. If it's stolen,
maybe.
Yes.
Okay.
Talking to Kevin Revere from the Oneida County 911 system, and also in for another reason, right, Jay?
Yeah, some interesting information coming out last week about Mutual Link, and you guys, partnering up with that. Tell us a little bit more about that, how the schools are linked with you, and the information you guys can share back and forth.
We were selected a few months ago from the state of New York, who through a grant process, ourselves and Rockland County.
So pretty unique to the state?
Very much so.
Okay.
Very much so. Cutting edge.
Mm-hmm.
The system itself, Mutual Link, has been around for a number of years. It's a company. Mm-hmm. It's a private company, but the state set up a process that Oneida County and Rockland County could take 10 schools each and have it set up. It's a computer program. It's internet-based, but it ties in their communications assets, their radios, their telephone system, and if they have cameras, and that with a panic button that someone could press. And it goes beyond that. They can actually set it up on their cell phones, school officials.
Wow.
We could approve X number of school folks that the panic button is on them at all times, because we were concerned about having literally a button on a wall to get to activate the system. So they actually have a mobile application. If they are near the school, they can activate it through their mobile device.
So are you able to monitor them 24 hours a day, or is it just until they allow you into their system? They
have to activate the system. So in an emergency, basically it's a fire alarm, but it goes to the next level that we can interact with them. We can even, the meeting that we were at the other day, we can actually tie into, we haven't done this yet because there's there's a variety of issues. We can actually tap into their PA system.
Really?
And talk to the students.
That's amazing.
While something is going on, which has a lot of implications, because one of the things that I brought up, I said, okay, if we can do that, and again, God forbid, an active shooter, when you're talking to the students, the shooter is going to hear the same thing, perhaps.
All right.
So that's a law enforcement decision as to how they would want that handled or not. The other beautiful thing about it, too, is that it's not just at the 911 center. We can push that information out to a police car or command post outside of the site also. And this isn't just kind of doom and gloom. This system comes in handy for major events also, to make sure that communication is flowing very well between the authorities, law enforcement, public safety, and some event.
Well, that's got to be fantastic in response time for you folks.
Absolutely.
So you don't have to worry about someone, as you mentioned, maybe pushing a physical button or dialing an actual phone number, getting the information, and then responding. You guys are pretty much on hand right there.
Yes. We've talked for a number of years. It started off with a texting to 911, that we were one of the first 911 centers in the country, not in the state, but in the country. Oneida County was to get texting to 911. This is just another step in that process. 10 years from now, there's going to be a whole bunch of this sort of stuff.
And I remember having you in for that, talking about the texting aspect of it. How is that come to fruition? Have you seen that?
It works. Matter of fact, I surprise them once in a while and do it myself, just so I say, don't call unless it's an emergency. We do test the system to make sure it's working well. We don't get a lot of texting, which is good, because usually it's someone who can't, for a variety of reasons, call. So.
And one of the questions I had for you then, I think, was you responding to the texter. How does that work? You just type right back and forth as you would?
Typing right on a keyboard.
And you're able to send that out to a responding officer as well, or that information?
We'll relay it in a separate system. We don't want that all mixed together, so that goes out either verbally over the radio, or we can send it in a chat message to the officer.
And you mentioned working with a number of schools with Mutual Link. Can you tell us what schools are you working with?
I can, but I'm not going to tell you why. If I tell you which ones have it, then I, by default, told you which ones don't have it.
Okay.
One of the things that we are hopeful next year in the county budget, the county executive Pacenti proposed that one of the things that $500,000 for the Partners in Prosperity money, but one of the things that we want to do is cover all the schools. And this grant program paid for 10. We want to cover them all. We've got a waiting list right now, and we're hoping that the Board of Legislators does the right thing, leaves that money in place so we can get it out to the schools that want it.
Mutual Link in Oneida County and Rockland County, you mentioned. Why just those two?
Don't really know. I think, honestly, we got a letter. We got the county executive got a phone call from Homeland Security. Then we got a letter shortly thereafter. I think probably the texting to 911, since we were one of the first ones in the country to have it. I think they said, well, they've got a good handle on the technology. So I think that had something to do with it.
Good for you. Feather in your cap, Kevin.
It's a tribute to the county government, really, is the county executive, the Board of Legislators. They're really at the forefront of all of this.
Yeah, we're getting up to our break, but quickly, if you want to comment on the other aspect I asked you to talk about was, and I'm not sure if you know much about it, but the Apple, the new Apple app, is kind of similar of what you're talking about, maybe with the ability to hit a panic button mobily on your cell phone. But I think they created an app specifically for Apple, patented through them, where you're able to, with your finger, I believe, it scans your finger, the owner of the cell phone, and you're able to hit a panic button on that.
All these apps, all this new technology. Again, in 10 years, we're going to look back to now and say, well, remember back when we couldn't do this, that, or the other thing? That's the way it's going to be. A burglar alarm is going to trip off, and that information is going to get fed to the cop who's responding. They'll be able to get all the information, the callback numbers, live surveillance feed that we'll be able to observe along with the officers. There's a whole bunch more coming.